Welcome to my tutorial on how to fill out a tournament bracket and score it. And what's great about these brackets when you print them off the internet is they'll have the seeds or the rankings of the teams. So it's not necessary to know anything about basketball to have a good time doing this, because the seeds are your friends and you can pretty much go according to what the seeds are. And I'll show you that when I get there. All right, so this is an example of a bracket. This is just half of it because it was too big to fit the whole thing on. When you get it, it will only have the teams in the first round printed. You can either handwrite in the rest of them, or my friend Beth here found a way to do it online and get it all nice and printed. So this is the first round, and those team names will be filled in. These numbers here, just to the left of the name, is the seed. So here, UConn is the #1 seed in this region, the Bridgeport region. They're playing Albany, which is number 16, so that is going to be an almost definite win for UConn. So that's why Beth chose UConn as the winner in the first round. So now these are her picks. These are not the actual winners. So the seeds can guide you pretty much. Now, when you've got two seeds that are close, like 8 and 9 here, it's sort of a toss-up, and if you have warmer feelings about Iowa State for some reason than Syracuse, then maybe you would pick Iowa State. So that's where it can be a little bit fun. You don't want to go for too much of a long shot because the consequences of being wrong are pretty costly all the way through the tournament. But when they're different by 1 or by 2, that's when you can let your heart guide you to have a little more fun. So you'll fill out who you predict for the winners of the first round on these lines, and then there's a region down here that is cut off, and also here. So there are 16 teams in each region. 1 through 16. So there'll be 8 winners. So you have the potential to pick 8 winners here, 8 winners in this lower part, 8 winners here, and 8 winners in this lower part, if you get it all perfect. Now what's tricky is you have to pick, before the tournament starts, before any games are played, you have to fill out this whole thing. So you have to guess who's going to win all these and who will be in the Final Four, and then who will be the winner. And so, of course, if your team gets knocked out fairly early on, you're in pretty bad shape. So that's the choosing. I recommend going pretty much with the seeds unless they're close, and then maybe for fun reasons you can, pick one that might be a slightly lower ranked team. This is the rest of Beth's bracket that I didn't show you before, so here's the rest of the Here are the rest of the teams: Plain, Oklahoma City region, and Stockton region. So now when you're scoring, you will simply count up the number of winners you have in whatever round you're looking at. Say it's the first round, and then multiply it by the number of points indicated here. So in the first round, remember, there'll be 8 winners in each region, so there'll be 32 total winners. If you pick them all perfectly, you would get 32 times 1, you would get 32 points. In the second round, you get 2 points for each correct one you pick. Third round, you get 3 points. I kept it simple by just keeping the points the same as whatever round number it was. I would recommend not circling or crossing out anything. Keep your bracket clean. Just count up the number of winners you have, write that at the bottom, multiply it by 1 or 2 or 3, depending on what round it is, and that'll be your score. So you'll have a score at the end of the first round, a score at the end of the second round, and so forth. And I'll show you now scoring part of Beth's bracket. All right, so let's score Beth's bracket for the first round on the left-hand side. So again, these are the teams that she picked to win. These are the actual winners, so we'll see how they match up. She picked University of Connecticut to win. and they did win. She picked Syracuse, and Syracuse won. She picked Texas A&M, and they won. She picked UCLA, they won. So far, so good for Beth. She picked West Virginia, they won. She picked Maryland, Maryland won. She picked Temple. Uh-oh, Temple did not win, so she missed that one. She picked Duke, and Duke won. So she picked 7 out of 8 in that region. She picked Baylor. Baylor won. She picked LSU, but California won, so she missed one there. She picked Tennessee. Tennessee won. She picked Louisville. Louisville won, so you can just go all the way down. She picked all of these correctly. So she missed only 2 out of those first 16, so she got 14 on that side. And I'm not going to show you how she did on this side, but she also got 14 on that side. So she got 28 correct, 28 times 1. She gets 28 points at the end of the first round. The maximum would have been 32 if she had picked all 32 winners correctly. Now if we look at the second round, so these are the winners of the second round. Well, this is who she predicted would win, and they're playing in the third round. So we compare. She picked Connecticut. Connecticut won. She picked Texas, but UCLA won, so she missed that one. She picked Maryland. Maryland won. She picked Duke, but Oregon won. So she only got 2 out of the 4 in that region. She picked Baylor. Baylor won. She picked Tennessee. Louisville won, so she missed that. She picked Washington, and they won. And she picked Mississippi State, and they won. So she got 5 out of 8 on the left-hand side in this bracket. So she would get 5 times 2 is 10 points. So if she did it all perfectly, there would be 16 winners in the second round, times 2 points each would be 32. So the maximum score in the second round would be 32. So here's a summary of what she picked. If you want to go back, you can look at her bracket and look at the one with the winners and see if you get the same numbers that I got. So on the left-hand side, she picked 14 in the first round, times 1 is 14 points. She picked 5 in the second round on the left-hand side, that's 10 points. She picked 3 out of the 4, that's 9 points. She picked 1 out of the 2, that's 4 points. The fifth round, she didn't pick any winners on the left-hand side, so she got 0 points. But she did pick the champion, which is South Carolina. And Beth grew up in South Carolina, so my guess is that's why she picked it. Most people didn't, because year after year, UConn is usually the winner. So this was a really, really exciting game. Now, you might notice Beth's bracket, there's no name on it, so that's not good. I wasn't getting very many by email then, so I knew it was from her, but hopefully I'll be getting a lot more this year, so it's going to be essential to put your name on the bracket. These are the important dates to remember. On March 18th, the brackets are announced. So be sure when you go on the internet to get your bracket that you find the women's bracket. These are also available on the newspaper, but most people get them from the internet. But if you do a search on March Madness, it's going to turn up the men's tournament unless you specifically look for the women's. So pick your teams before the games start on the 22nd. My reason for doing this March Madness is not because I care that much about basketball, but I'm just trying to draw some attention to women's activities just for a change of pace, not make all the excitement in March about the men's teams. So I'd encourage you to get people to help you pick. If you know somebody that lives in Arizona and you want to know what their chances are, send them a text and say, hey, what do you think about your team's chances this year? I'd like to get people talking about it. I'd like to get people excited about it. I will need to have your bracket before the games begin. They start, midday on the 22nd. So as long as I have it before the games begin, you're eligible for the prize, which I have to say is rather modest. This is more for the fun of it than any big winnings. But I wouldn't cut it that close. If you can get it done by the 21st and get it to me, that would be best. And be sure to write your name on your bracket. They can be handwritten in your teams, but just make sure that you don't just write the seed number. That seems like it's a unique identifier, but it's not, because there are seeds 1 through 16 in each of 4 regions, and so then later when you get to 1 against 1 or 2 against 2, it gets harder to keep track of what team you actually picked. So write the team name on the line. If you want to write the seed number, go ahead, but at least write the team name. So while the tournament's going on, between the 24th and the 5th, you score your brackets yourself and report your accumulating score to the rest of us. Hopefully we'll have some kind of dialogue going on Facebook, and we can be comparing how we are, and you know, if there's an upset, some people are going to be pretty unhappy, and it just adds to the excitement. Then on April 5th, we'll gather in person to watch the semifinals. And on April 7th, we'll gather to watch the championship. And I hope you can make both of those dates. If you can't, but you just want to do the bracket, that's fine. If you don't want to do the bracket and you just want to come and watch the games, that's fine. I just find, because I'm not so into basketball, it's more fun to watch the games when I've got a stake in them. And because we're going on all self-report, we'll take the top 3 scores by self-report, and then we'll have a committee of people who feel like they're confident about how to score these to check those scores, and we'll agree on them and declare the winner for the grand prize. So I hope you'll participate. It's more fun probably than you think, because I'm not a sports fan. I don't, in terms of watching sports, I never really get into this, but this is really fun. And even though I don't know much about basketball and I don't know all the moves, I can certainly watch the score and I can see when the ball's stolen, and it turns out to be a good time. And I think I've gotten some success in getting people to pay attention to this in the last few years. So I hope I see you there.